Hello team and welcome back to another Line Warcast. This is your map today in a 1v1 between someone that said that my nickname sucks and Desobnerin. Someone said that my nickname sucks is in blue and Desobnerin is in red on seed 979,349, the best seed in Line War. It's already known. I believe this is a ranked match from the rank ladder. It might just be a 1v1 game that was played in a custom lobby, but either way, both of these players know what they're doing. Very good at the game, have been playing it forever as far as I'm concerned. And it's a very close spawn. If we actually look at nicknames vision in blue here, doesn't see that red is spawned very close. Desobnerin won't see that blue is spawned very close either. And it's going to be tanks from blue, and it's going to be helicopters from red. Desobnerin also has a factory that's building tanks. The second factory might build tanks, although with an airport already, it seems unlikely that this is going to be two tanks and the helicopter as well. It's just a lot of energy and money that would go into it. That being said, Nickname does have two factories building these tanks. There's an interceptor on the way out of the airport, and the difference in the build so far is that Nickname only has one barracks and Desobnerin has two. Nickname's building a second tank, and Desobnerin is electing to go for an artillery piece instead. And as soon as Nickname gets a handful of tanks, there's two ways that this can go. The tanks could go off and try to cap something. They could try to attack some red infantry and make sure that red can't expand as easily. Or the tanks will run directly towards this refinery location. It's really the only refinery that Desobnerin could have control over. As soon as blue discovers that red is here, both players now seeing that they're pretty close to each other. Third tank is on the way for Nickname. Tanks are very expensive to build, so we have to wait for Nickname's money to get up to 60, I believe is what a tank costs, and that's exactly what happens. So 4 tanks to start the game for Nickname. And the first artillery piece is complete for Desobnerin, and another artillery piece on the way. First helicopter's done for red as well. And this is going to be a Nickname scout with the interceptor. It's a second interceptor for Nickname off of that blue airport. And at this point, Desobnerin sees that there are tanks. This is red's vision. I have to click the button again. This is actually red's vision. They can't actually see the buildings in the fog of war. Interceptor might see this airport in the mountains. For a brief second, Nickname does see the helicopter. If blue was looking, then obviously Nickname knows that there's an airport on the way, but this refinery kind of says at least something. Blue will know that there's got to be some sort of energy unit on the field. The helicopter makes a lot of sense. Unclear if Nickname knows that there's tanks. Unless, of course, the blue interceptor just saw tanks and I didn't notice it. And more tanks from blue. Tanks 5 and 6 on the way. This blue move command from Nickname for these 4 infantry trying to jump on top of this artillery piece. With the help of the red helicopter, the red artillery piece might be okay. Good body blocking from the red infantry to try to keep this blue infantry off of the artillery piece. And nice defense in general from Desobnerin. There's now 2 distinct groups of tanks, these 2 pairs of blue tanks. And the third intercept, or rather, this is a helicopter for Nickname. The SAM count is going to be important for Desobnerin. This one factory is now switching to SAMs. There's 3 tanks in total for red. 2 interceptors is enough to down a helicopter. This one's in a little bit of trouble. The tank might even get it. But instead the interceptor finishes it off. Income-wise, 420 for blue, nice, and 420 for red as well, double nice. Holy cow, it's super, super close. So it's 6 tanks in total, 7 and 8 tanks, or rather the 7th and 8th tank are being built out of the blue factory. One way to stop this game or to win this game for blue is to rush the tanks on the refinery. It'll be kind of difficult to get there because it is a long way to go. And after this one helicopter is finished, it's a third interceptor for Nickname. Which is kind of nice. It allows, if Nickname can build more interceptors and not build any SAMs, it just means more tanks for blue. There's a second refinery already for Nickname, actually a second and third refinery that could be built on those two energy well locations. So it would be plenty of energy to keep the tanks moving and keep these blue planes moving as well. And this is one of the strengths of tanks. If there's no air support, then the infantry just kind of gets super owned by the tanks. And as a bonus, they can drive off into the distance and then start capping random territories. We might hear a beep beep from Nickname anytime now. I'd probably expect that a second refinery is thrown down for blue as one of the next buildings. As the tank count ramps up, the energy requirement gets pretty high. And yes, there's the second refinery in a very safe location for Nickname. There's another barracks for the Sovereign. If we go top down, red's certainly in the center of the map. It looks like blue probably has a few more territories. And interceptors are very lightweight units. They don't do very well against SAMs, so one of the things that Nickname wants to do here with these tanks is at least push the SAMs away and get them out of range of these two interceptors that want to take down this helicopter. Blue's a little bit at mercy of the AI of where these interceptors decide to fly. This will be a huge move if Nickname can get this second interceptor out. In general, still a decent trade, I'd say. 2 helicopters for 1 interceptor. And now these 3 tanks, it used to be 6 tanks or whatever it was, but these 3 tanks for blue should be able to destroy this one barracks. 1 red tank isn't going to be enough to stop it. And naturally, all these units flowing out of these blue buildings are going to at least be able to push this red force back. Nickname's now got these infantry around this little choke, which is good. They can start to contest these red territories in the center of the map. And a relatively micro-intensive game because of how close both players spawn to each other. So far, I'd say blue is taking the best of the trades with the tank advantage. But this is good for the Sovereign. The 1 helicopter and 1 tank, which you can barely see because of the smoke. I was going to say probably this helicopter is going to be able to destroy both these tanks, but I lied. Three SAMs now for the Sovereign, which is pretty good against this many interceptors. And a handful of helicopters. Nickname's going to start transferring the helicopters up to the north so that they can start fighting in support of these blue units, these blue infantry on the right-hand side. Which makes it very difficult for the Sovereign because these SAMs don't have the same mobility that interceptors would have. Potentially as a result, the Sovereign started building interceptors out of the airport, knowing that these helicopters are going to be off where it's difficult to get SAM coverage. And this barracks is building a commando. And the long-term plan, it looks like, for the Sovereign is to send it to the right-hand side of the map on this one command here, this one attack move command, capture move for the commandos. Nickname's still trading effectively with the tanks, which is going to open up a potential push for blue. It's only 2 factories and 1 barracks though, so it's not that large of an army. Still a decent chance for the Sovereign to actually defend here. And red must not feel all that worried about this push because this farm is in a very forward location. If a player generally builds industry very close to the front, it's either a sign of super strength or super desperation in general, I find. Especially with the blue tanks on the field, because these tanks could just jet over and try to destroy this farm once blue sees that this is actually happening. Eco-wise, it's 642 for blue and 550 for red. Nickname's got this barracks on the far right, which will support and send more units to the northern part of the map, which is very important. And top down, way more blue spread out across the map. Another capping barracks in the bottom left for Nickname. And over time, these little capping barracks like this provide so much value once they get enough infantry out to cap effectively. That being said, second airport is now complete for Desaubrin. I keep messing up these names. Right now, the two units being created are helicopters. And in the same way that Nickname moved the helicopters to the north at the beginning, to at least show that the helicopters would support up here, Desaubrin can do the same thing. Once these helicopters complete, they can go up to the north, and we're going to have some infantry and commandos versus helicopters. In the north, it's all the tanks. In the south, I guess one helicopter for Desaubrin. And I'd say that the momentum is in blue's favor right now. It's 622 income for red and 772 for blue. Nickname also making more money per minute and putting down another capping barracks. It's in the forest, so Desaubrin won't be able to see this until the units get closer to that location. And now it's so many air units for blue in the north. The two helicopters are complete. Desaubrin is going to send at least one of them down to the south in the bottom left. This is the most fragile time of these capping barracks before they've really produced any units. You can see just how horrible a vision this tank has. It can't see into the forest. The forest provides that stealth bonus. A very interesting game. There's another push going on for Desaubrin here. It's two more interceptors as the next units out of the red airports. Then the helicopters in the bottom left for Desaubrin are just picking off a few infantry here and there. This seems like a really unfortunate spot for red because these blue helicopters are going to do a lot of damage. There's one red helicopter off to the right, but now with this other capping barracks for blue, it's going to be a lot more infantry. There must have been a red barracks that was destroyed here, right? There was definitely a red barracks for Desaubrin up here that is now gone. It would seem like a little bit of a scary push here, but 3 tanks and all this infantry and then the defender's advantage for blue because these producers are much closer to the front. Should be fine for Nickname. 3 SAMs covering perfectly in case these helicopters wanted to, you know, get back into the main fight. And because of Nickname's tank coverage, it's sort of hard for these red SAMs to want to move up forward because they expose themselves to getting run down by the tanks. 692 eco for red and 892 for blue. Nickname's starting to eco with this one farm. And a town and factory in the bottom left. It's a wonderful amount of SAMs for Nickname to cover. And I think this second interceptor for red is going to get home. One of the things that happened in the latest patch is that all units actually have more range. All ground units, so ground units can shoot planes more often now because of that range bonus. And 2 more interceptors for Desobnerin. This is red's vision, so still not seeing any of these producers that are in the forest for blue. And I think this is the big moment in the game, because this refinery is going to go down and it's going to stop all of the red energy units from moving. All these interceptors, all these helicopters, and all the tanks. And this gives blue a huge opportunity to go for a push. Nickname has enough energy off of these 2 refineries to keep all the planes moving. And Nickname elects to send the helicopters back to defend. It's really difficult because it's not like Desobnerin has a ton of money to build another refinery, and even like building a refinery right now kind of hurts because it's going to take so long for it to get up and running. And now these 3 blue tanks are already at the airport. There's no real way to defend against it. That Nickname's in the mountains in the north. The bottom left factory is now complete, so the first artillery piece is on the way, which is going to start providing a pretty big army for blue to push back in the bottom left. And now this barracks has been up long enough that all those blue commandos are going to be a pretty big fighting force against a same amount of infantry for red. One of the airports goes down. The tanks are going to try to rush to this refinery again. Nickname can see that it's being rebuilt. And just on the map, there's no real other place that red could have a refinery. Which makes it, you know, twice as hard for Desobnerin to actually set this refinery up again, because it's predictably the spot that Desobnerin needs to build that building. This I think is the perfect investment part of me for Nickname. Adding 1 more factory and these 2 barracks in the bottom left. These 2 original tanks or something that they've been here for so long. This one Tokyo drifting around. They're already at the far left of the map. And 3 tanks for blue are going to snipe this refinery again. Putting red in a extremely awkward position. This is actually a trade route in the bottom that Nickname is starting to get up. Even in the bottom right, that town exists. Well played, GG both. Let's look at some graphs. No, the graphs, we can't look at graphs. There's no more graphs. No graphs allowed. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this video and this cast. If you want to learn more about the game, you can check out the Line War Discord. It's a great place to ask questions, watch different replays like this one, talk about balance, talk about, you know, whatever you want to. Check it out. Check out the Steam page for more information, and shouts out to both these players for a wonderful 1v1. I hope you have a great night, day, evening, whatever it is. Thank you for all the support on the channel in any way that you do so just by watching the videos. It's more than enough. For all the subs, of course, helps the channel grow, and liking the video is wonderful for it as well. Much appreciated. And we'll see you next Friday. Every Friday there's going to be a cast or some sort of video. There you go. That's my promise to you. Until I break it. All right, peace folks. Bye-bye.